Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Finger Puppet Show. It's the Tickle Finger Show. Yay! Where Craig is a clown. Just remember, for those of you who remember, I bought the Tickle Fingers. Well, we didn't get any more of those. But we are here to talk about what happened for the rest of our Brimfield Antique Week. Give you a bit of a review of how Brimfield works if you're new to it. And it might be one of the first things that you've actually seen about Brimfield. And we'll show you some fun things that we found on the next few days that we were there. Thank you for joining us today on our Brimfield recap. We only have one other person who'd be able to do this with us, and that is Good Dog, the fifth element. He's downstairs, back to his basement where he belongs, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Big hello.
I'm very sleepy, so if I'm a little slow on the draw.
A big hello to everybody. Tina, hey, howdy. Hello, Donna and Janet, Kendra, Elisa, Heather on Bob's iPad. Let's see, Dawn, Kevin, hey, how you doing? Tina, I think I said hi, but Sandy, Joan, Ms. Boland. Thanks for joining us here. Thanks again as well to everyone who is a member of the Kennel Club, which you see on the side there with the little icons beside their names. They support us here at Two Dogs Digs, doing all we try to do to help you better your business in reselling, and hopefully learn some stuff that maybe things that you didn't look at before that you might have looked at all of a sudden because we've told you, hey, look at this. Hey, Sarah. One of the things that we've noticed actually recently, and I actually get a big kick out of it, is in the past couple of weeks, I've seen people posting things saying, blame Craig. I bought this because Craig made me do it. And happily, I'm glad to see that some of you are branching out of what you normally might end up doing. I know Adrian actually went and bid on some cartoon sheets at a Max Sold auction. I know that... let's see, there was a couple of others that we saw that from the group that people were like, this is something I bought this because Craig talked about this. Like
Somebody bought some shoelaces, didn't they?
Somebody bought shoelaces. Yes. I think Andrew might have bought shoelaces because of me. So yeah, but thank you for, again, just trying to expand the way that you might be looking at stuff. I don't think anybody else is going to find any more of these tickle finger guys. I have no idea what the hell we're going to do with these again. Probably do just a little video about them. I'm going to do a little research on them just for fun. But today it's about recapping what happened for our next few days at Brimfield. So I thought I'd actually sort of recap how Brimfield works again, just for those of you who may or may not know much about it. Yes. Oh, yeah, there. Andrew. Guilty. Hey, Sherry. So just as a reminder, so the way Brimfield actually works, it is a bunch of fields, and I'm going to find these fields. So this is a literal map of what Brimfield is. So you can see there's this main street right down the center here. That's literally the center of the universe. That is everything that happens. I'm going to remove you, Rick, for a second. Everything happens down this one strip. Now, what you see, all these white dots that you see here, those white dots, in most cases, that's just a whole slew of tents that are all up in that area. Why does it have the Thrift It or Throw It banner up there? I do not know. I got to get rid of that. Where is that? That should be there. I just noticed that up in the top corner. But this is all tents. This is actually up in this upper corner here. This is actually where you see Lara Spencer. If you ever watch the TV show that she had on, I don't even know if she still does it. What was the name of it, Rick? Flea Market Flip.
Flea Market Flip, yes.
So a Flea Market Flip, this is actually the flea market that she would send people running around to. Everything that's up in this area, way up top in here. So the church is actually here where she starts people out, and they run across and run into this giant field. This field here is called Maze. Actually, this is actually parking. So Elisa, this section here is parking. right
There's
where
parking at the church.
there's parking at the church. There's parking in the fields behind you. There's parking over in this field. There's parking way at the back of fields. There's parking pretty well everywhere. So surprisingly, people will think, oh, I can't get parking. You can get parking, but it's one of the things that you have to consider when you're paying for things. So when you look at something like this as a whole, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are opening. These are all, this whole centerpiece here is all people who are open, right? Like for the entire, wait, I'm in the wrong place. They're open for the entire section of everything. Is this whole section is just people there all the entire time. These are people there the entire time. There are other fields that may open for one day. This one, which is May's, a big field that opens on Thursday. This picture was probably taken either on the Wednesday beforehand or the Saturday, and it fills this whole field up, literally from the street, running into all of those things for people to actually shop from. So it's a lot of fun. The way that it works is every time there's a different field that opens. Some of them open for the whole Tuesday to Sunday. So this is a 6-day event. And the interesting thing about it is we saw vendors on the Tuesday that they said, come back to see us again on Thursday, because they actually had a spot in a field on the Tuesday. And then they were going, one guy I know, the guy with the tickle fingers, he drove back to New Jersey on the Wednesday, picked up a whole bunch of more stuff, then came back on the Thursday to a different field and set up in a different field for the next 4 days. So lots of people do that. There's people who move from field to field to field, sometimes adding stuff, sometimes with the same stuff. One of the things that shocked us was Rick and I saw, I don't know if I've got the image there that I can show you quickly, but we had the thing where we showed people the images from last week of the one place that had all of the Holt Howard. And we went on the Thursday to another field, and all of that Holt Howard was there at another field, which means he packed up 200 pieces of Holt Howard and then drove them to another field and unpacked 200 pieces of Holt Howard because his prices were just through the roof. I'm going to see if I can find that image of the Holt Howard stuff right now.
His prices were really, really, really high. They were higher than eBay prices.
I'm seeing if I can find a picture of them, Rick. I'm not sure if I got it down here. No, I can't see it.
Okay.
So, yeah, his prices were high, and because of that, he was still stuck with them all. Like, oh, no, I found it. Here it is. Let me just load it so that
he also wasn't taking deals from anybody. There were people that were asking him for, if I buy 2, can I get a better price? And he was saying no.
So this is what was up there on Tuesday. All out on display on Tuesday. All of this Holt Howard stuff, and all of it was still there. And everything on that entire table behind him was still there. He literally, I think he may have sold one thing. So he took all of these and moved them. I just can't imagine packing all of these and how much damage was possibly going to be done to each one of those. How many pieces got damaged as he went from place to place to place? It was...
There's all the pixie wear.
Tons of stuff. Gorgeous stuff, but higher than eBay prices. Like, yeah.
Nothing had a price tag on it.
Nothing had a price tag on it. And it's true. Every time a field opens, a thrifter gets their wings. No, I can't imagine it either. But there are people who move Tuesday, they do another field Wednesday, they do another field Thursday, and then they're usually there. They may actually do another field Friday, and then they're there Saturday and Sunday. And that's because the way that it works is, I'll show you. So you saw those fields. This is how it actually is set up at the end of the day. So the setup is like this map. So you can come in to Sturbridge from one end, or you come in to Brimfield from the other end. So the shows that are here, Collins Apple Barn, Grand Trunk, Meadows, Central Park, they are open all the time. Quaker Acres, Shelton, Stuyvesant, they are all open. Mahogany Ridge, the whole thing from Tuesday morning at like 6 a.m. But what happens with the other fields is they open at a specific time. So dealer's choice down here at the very end, where I had to walk to on Tuesday, that I was not impressed because half the dealers weren't there. That only opens at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. So the field's open on Tuesday and it's closed Tuesday afternoon. Nobody's there after Tuesday afternoon. And both Brimfield Acres North, which used to be a huge field, and Dealer's Choice become parking lots from that point onwards. So Collins Apple Barn and surrounding it are still there, and Grand Trunk is still there. But what ends up happening on Wednesday is the New England Motel space opens with about, I guess, about 200 vendors, Rick?
Yeah.
And that opens at 6 a.m. on Wednesday. Across from it, Heart of the Mart opens with 300 vendors on Wednesday at 9. And at noon, Hertan's opens with about another 200 vendors. So there's 500 vendors plus who are opening just on that day while they're surrounded by everybody else. Then on Thursday, the big sale is Maze. And the reason the big sale is called Maze, and this is the day that it gets really busy in there. And we saw crowds grow, didn't we, Rick? From Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, the crowds shopping grew and grew and grew. So much so that we actually had to take a detour to get in on Thursday morning because that single road in was like blocked up with cars moving at like no miles an hour. Well, it's kind of like that, but it isn't necessarily. We actually bought stuff from tables where somebody had a table and everything on the table was $1. So we did feel stuff like, we did find stuff like that. It is very, very interesting. It's like Tina has her first vintage sale in 2 weeks, probably 10 or more storage tubs of glassware. Always the last to leave is it has to be, well, hopefully you'll get rid of it. I think that's part of the idea too. Lisa's got a farmer's market that starts in 4 weeks and so is every second Wednesday. Yeah. I can't get Rick to do shows anymore though.
No.
He has no patience for people.
Although when we were doing shows, the best thing was actually packing at the end of the day and finding out that you had 5 or 6 empty tubs. It's like, woohoo!
Oh yeah, that Holt Howard table. No, it wasn't starting at 20. It was starting at 200. Everything on that table. So, but we do find stuff, all sorts of different stuff, all over the place. That's very interesting. So, somebody asked the other day, though, last Tuesday, is like, are there clothes here? I just want to show you there are clothes of all kinds. This happened to be one tent that's filled with clothes sitting in it, so you can see everything inside this tent. This is one vendor. Here's another vendor that literally had bins. Literally, you can sort through those bins. And I actually have a couple other pictures of people just sitting on top of 4-foot piles of clothing that I'm going to actually do as a TikTok video to show you the clothes. Look at all the shoes that are there. There's another one. This actually is a tent that's set up on Wednesday in the heart of the mart. And this tent is just vintage clothes. And it's really nice because it's in a tent. So if it's hot out or if it's raining out. But this entire tent is about 20 other vendors who only deal in vintage clothes. So it's really interesting. That white t-shirt had, but it probably also had some name on it that was 80s. They probably wanted a lot of money for. Sometimes you'll find stuff, again, that's cheap. We found piles of jeans, all sorts of different stuff. So this is just the video in that one tent. That's me just walking down the one side of the tent and walking back up the other side of the tent. So
is
you
that
can
the
see
equivalent to t-shirt patina?
I guess that is t-shirt patina. That's a good way to call it. Let me see if I can find that thing again. And it is it's a Grateful Dead t-shirt. So you can bet that they still want money for that, even though there's holes in it. Because it's a Grateful Dead t-shirt. I can't see the price. But that's why it's a Grateful Dead t-shirt from 1990 tour, it looks like. So yeah, that could actually get really big money, possibly. You see, this is Maze, as I talked about. So you had to line up for the tickets. The gates opened at 9 a.m. And this is, just so you can see, the lineup to get tickets. Just the line to get tickets. This is Rick and I in line before the show started, 20 minutes before the show started, with the lineup. Now you can see, there's the lineup. I'm not kidding. That's the lineup on one side. There's another lineup on the other side that is the exact same depth. I can't hold my camera up high enough to show you that. But it's just, again, there's tons of stuff that's out there like that people end up seeing. Now, the thing is, Mays, which again, I was starting to talk about, they open on that Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, and nobody's allowed to even open their trunk of their car. They can't unwrap a thing. Now, everybody, and we used to be guilty of this, we'd line up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we got there on Thursday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. We drove into town, and there were already 50, 60 people lined up, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And as it got closer and closer, there were 100 people. There were 200 people lined up. There were people lined up across the street, and I couldn't find the video I took, but I call them the ass hats, because what ends up happening is literally there are all these people lined up on both sides of the street, and these people are on like in front of the proper entrances, and then there's about 50 to 100 people on this side of the street, and literally when the doors open, these people rush through traffic across the street to butt in their way in. Now, the thing that's ridiculous about it is nobody's stuff is ready. This is a picture I took of somebody 30 minutes after the show had started. They still were unpacking their items 30 minutes later. This person was still unpacking their stuff 45 minutes into the show. So rushing into the show when people don't even have their stuff unpacked. Well, part of the challenge with that is it means that a lot of times you have to go up and down rows multiple times because you don't know what else is coming out. We found something, and I think it was on our Facebook page that we posted a thrift it or throw it on this, which was this really weird pair of, somebody called them urinals, but they were planters.
Yes.
They were planters. I'm just trying to see if I can find the picture of them when I'm looking for this. Here we go. This is the picture here. Open like a new tab. So this was the planters that we found from somebody. Well, you called them urinals. So this was the planters that we found. It's not making it bigger. Why isn't it making it? Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's making that wrong side. Okay. Can't make that bigger. Here we are. That's the planters that we saw. And this person, we actually ended up getting those planters. We got it for $20. Yep. But that person still had 50% of their stuff in boxes. So I'm trying to scrounge through the boxes while they're trying to set their tent up. And this was at least an hour after it opened, wasn't it, Rick? Because this is like way towards the back. So we had gone through row after row, and this guy was still trying to get his tent set up.
Yeah, there are a couple of comments here. Elise, what happens if people jump the gun and set up early or set up at Mays? Do they get a fine? The answer is no, they don't get a fine, but they
will not be allowed to come back. There are people who walk the show making sure nothing is set up, and you will be banned from coming to a Maze as a vendor if you're found setting up beforehand.
Yeah, and it's not really a stupid rule that the vendors aren't able to unpack. It actually levels the playing field. They don't allow anyone onto the field except for vendors. And because the stuff isn't set up yet, a vendor can't pick from another vendor. So it kind of makes it possible for Craig and I to find something of value that another vendor might have scooped and put in their booth and jacked the price up.
So as an example, literally, as we got to one booth that was about a couple of feet in, right? It was just, they probably had only got about 25% of their stuff unpacked. What did you find, Rick, that you would not have ended up being able to get?
I don't know what you're talking about, honey. I'm tired.
The lampshade.
Oh, is it down here?
Your favorite find.
It's not down here. Oh, basically, I was looking in a box and I saw a Venetian blind.
Go find it. It doesn't make sense otherwise. It's somewhere around there. No, so again, that's the whole idea, is that all of the other fields open in advance for the dealer. So if you're setting up at dealers, like any of the Heart of the Mart or JJ's, any of those things, you're setting up at 5 in the morning and it doesn't open till 11. You can set up and shop. And as a dealer, yeah, that's great for me as a dealer. I've gone around when I used to do toy shows and I used to shop from other vendors and grab the stuff. But the whole premise of Maze, and it's only Maze and it's only on the Thursday, is that everyone is a first-time buyer. Everyone has the exact same opportunity. Oh, look what he found it. Yay. So this is what he found.
I found it. It was lying in a box. I could only see the edge. And then I picked it up and turned it around, and it's like, oh, it's one of those funky Venetian shades. And then I looked closer, and it actually has children's.
Can you take it out of the plastic, Rick?
Yes. I'll try to without damaging it.
No, there's no extra premium, but there is a premium. There is a price to go into every single field. The fields that are open for the entire time, there's no price for. But each of the fields costs money. For Maze, it's actually $8 per person. So Rick and I had to pay $16 to get into that field. When we went to the Heart of the Mart, it was $10 per person. That was $20. The one down at the end, that was $5. So basically, you're looking at, if you did every show, you're going to, that is opening for that day, $10, $5 per person on Tuesday. The 3 shows that open on Wednesday are 5 and 10 and 5. So that's another 20. So we're at 25. Maze is 8. That's 28. So times 2 of us, that's $56. Plus a minimum of $10 to $12 a day for parking. So you're looking at $100 just to be able to go there. So here's the shade that Rick found. So we've seen plenty of these square, Asian inspired, that kind of thing, but never, ever have we seen a tin shade that has kids stuff on it. That's the first time we've ever seen.
I've been trying to do research on this, and I cannot find anything.
Now, it was not cheap. It cost us $50, but we know that we've sold just the regular Asian shades like that. Like it's metal. It's not plastic. It's a metal shade. We've sold the metal shades, the tiered metal shades, for $100+ just for a shade. So there's no way that would have lasted beyond an extra 2 minutes or so that we have been in there. If it had been up and open to all the other vendors, that wouldn't have shown up, or it would have shown up on another vendor's table, probably at $100 to $150.
Yeah.
And we did find a couple other things from that same vendor too, and we end up spending a little bit of money. It's like, yes, it is. The vendors themselves stay or bring a lot of the vendors actually stay either locally. They bring their campers. They have tents in their area. So we've seen people who have their camper tent with. They put their stall as a tent that comes out from that. We saw vendors who had double-sized like overhead tents, like 20 by 20 tents. And at the back of the 20 by 20 tent, they had their tent that they lived in. So there's a lot of people, a lot of different places, and they can actually go off there. There's a camping ground that's not too far away from there as well. So there's lots of places. There's a motel. Heather's friends sell there, and they have one. You have one similar but without pictures on it. Yeah. So again, you have to put that cost in as well. The further away you stay, the cheaper the hotel is going to be. And the further in advance you book, the cheaper it's going to be. So if you are thinking about doing it, again, it's a fabulous thing to try and do if you've never done it. We love it. We're literally in the decision stage right now as to whether we're going to go to the September show, which is right after Labor Day. So this is, you can go to Brimfield, search BrimfieldAntiqueFlea.com. These are the 3 dates. Do not go in July. It's just too damn hot. And it's also the smallest show. Think about it. Last year, Becky, who's not here right now, Becky Dick, who is a jewelry person, the July show is smallest and very hot. Like both. But you can stay further away. The only thing you have to remember is the further away you stay, the cheaper your hotel is, but the longer it takes to get in. So you have to, but for example, I know Becky stays quite far away. It's probably a 40-minute drive for her every day in and out, but she gets there at 7 a.m. So she's not hitting the traffic going in or out.
Yeah, the bathroom situation. What is the bathroom situation like?
The bathroom situation is actually really amazing. There's a number of different bathrooms that actually have attendants at them. If you actually go there, the biggest hint that I can tell you is you go to Hertan's, which is right in the middle, and there's bathroom attendants. There's Dottie's Potties, and Dottie sits there, and they're manned. They clean the pot, like the porta potties, literally after every 2 or 3 people. They have a hand washing machine. They have soap. You tip her, or you don't want to if you don't have to, but it's the cleanest porta potty places that I've ever seen in my life. Rick, have you seen, like, even in the middle of Mays at 11 o'clock in the morning, they were cleaning the pot. The truck was cleaning the potties out in the middle of the field. They came to clean them out. They don't let them get disgusting. So there's lots of food vendors. There's all sorts of stuff like that. But yes, you can go to the potty without having to worry. I know if you hate them, but if you had to go and you had to go to one where you know it was being cleaned and wiped down and everything, every third person that goes in, that's much better than any other way.
The local establishments don't open their restrooms to anyone.
No.
There's a pizza place on the strip, and they have a sign up that says no restrooms.
So I thought I'd show you some of the stuff that we saw at Mays too, but just to give you ideas, like how all out over the place it is. People like this guy had boxes. He had literally just thrown entire things into a box and said the whole box, in this case, was $325, all sorts of tin toys. He had about 6 or 7 boxes, all of them $200 to $300 to $400 a box. He had just lifted these out of his truck. We walked by him the second round. Every box was gone except one. So people had bought their entire boxes.
And he wasn't letting people pick one thing from a box. It was the entire box or get the hell out.
This was it's like tacky but amazing. It was a monkey fur-lined coat. This vendor actually, we saw 2 people try this on, and it was $1,200. $1,200. And he expected that it would be gone before noon. And I think we walked by him again, and it wasn't there when we walked by that section again.
No, it sold very quickly.
So it sold between 9:30 in the morning and 11 o'clock in the morning to somebody.
I think the same woman who tried it on rethought it and went back.
She looked amazing in it, though. Benches, tool benches. This was something that we found out that was neat. Was at a garage sale last summer. I picked up this little workbench. I didn't know what it was. It came with little tools. I thought it was so cute. We actually sold them. I picked up 2 workbenches and little tool sets. I had to do research. I found out it was a Power Mite. Well, this guy actually had the entire set, including all the little miniature tools and everything all together. So it was just interesting for me to see something that I hadn't seen in the package that was brand new. He wanted too much money for it, so that was a pass on our part.
Go back to that just for a second.
Yeah.
The little tools that are in the boxes above the workbench are actually battery operated, and they have little motors that make them move. You have a little outlet that you plug into the battery pack, and the sander would actually move around.
So yeah, there's that level there's a real level in that level.
There was a screwdriver or a drill. Really cool stuff. But again, they did want too much money for it.
They wanted too much money for it. I would have bought it because if it had been a good price, if I could have got that lot for $50, I would have grabbed it because we've sold the loose table for $25. This was just the funkiest pair of boots that somebody happened to have.
They were taller than me.
Like, again, I just wanted to show all over the board. You've got movie posters, all sorts of old movie posters. This amazing lamp. but Rick and I both wanted this lamp.
Yeah, he wanted $250 for
It's
it.
glass. I've never seen it with this sort of double striation on the sides.
It reminds me of the crystals that Superman uses in his Fortress of Solitude.
Horrible cord. The cord was, and it looks tilted, but it isn't tilted. But this was just amazing. Yeah, they were kinky. That's true. They were kinky boots. Somebody made their own version of the Titanic for $175. It's like, okay, this was not small. You can find everything from life-size stand-ups of The Simpsons to, I don't know, haunted Bridgerton photos, pictures, just weird stuff, to gigantic tables. There is so much giant stuff at this. It's surprising how many people bring entire, like, big U-Haul trucks filled with stuff inside them. We had like 14-foot tables, solid wood tables, surfboards. There was a bed of nails, a literal bed of nails. There was circus posters. Not tiny, gigantic things. And all we could think about was, if it doesn't sell, it has to get back into the truck and go again. There used to be somebody we saw there who made, I didn't see them this year, Rick. The first time I haven't seen them. Those giant wrought iron balls. And he made them, they were about 6 feet tall, round, and it was just made from giant wrought iron. And by the Wednesday, he probably brought about 20 or 30 of them, 6 feet down. Every single one of them was sold. Most of them were sold on the Tuesday before noon. So unbelievable the amount. So not very much handmade stuff. Mostly it was all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I can't even imagine how you got stuff there. Oh, it's Mary. Is it Mary Todd Lincoln? Oh, that it is. But again, it's an old painting with a little puppy. Oh, is it a little puppy? Oh, look at the puppy.
We're not showing it.
Oh, sorry. Look at the puppy. There she is.
That's a badger. That's a honey badger.
That's a honey badger.
Mary Todd Lincoln don't give an F.
So we found lots of stuff too. So now we're going to show you some of the stuff that we ended up picking up. Of course, we had to start out with something that I had to grab. And again, some stuff was a little cheaper. Some stuff was a little more expensive. Some stuff is for us. Some stuff is immediate resale. Some stuff we're going to be putting on Whatnot. We're going to be putting on eBay. But sometimes you just have to buy something kind of like that you don't know what you're going to use it for. So obviously, these guys and the lovely baby tickle fingers, I don't know what we're going to use them for. They will probably show up on something. They probably will show up on a Whatnot show or as a giveaway. But this, I don't think there's any reason. Like, I could not pass this up.
Uncle Craig and his tickle fingers.
This is a baby queen. And baby queen, like me, a baby queen. Well, Rick calls me king of the babies. So I might have to explain. I'm not sure if we actually explain why I'm king of the babies. I'm king of the babies because Rick calls me king of the babies because I have a giant baby head. It's a big, round, bald head. And often when we're somewhere especially in a restaurant, if there's a baby at a table nearby, at some point they turn, they see me, and Rick has said they literally just say, it's like there's a giant version of me. I have been chosen king of the baby. And if I see a baby crying, and we've seen this happen too, Rick will go, "Hey, king of the babies," and I'll watch this baby, and then they'll look at me and go, and shut up. And the parents are looking at, and Rick just goes, he's king of the babies. So when I saw baby queen, I needed to get my queen for my queen. Or my queen sort of got this queen for me.
Yes, he's actually saved a couple of mothers from melting down because their baby wouldn't stop crying in a restaurant.
Surprisingly, Something else that we found, again, some stuff we work a lot of ways in the, as you know, in the toy area, the pop culture, that kind of stuff. Surprisingly, we actually were at one, and again, so you don't think everything is too expensive. We were at one booth, and at this one booth, we found Furbies in their boxes. And not just one Furby, 4 Furbies in their boxes. Now, 1 or 2 of them were completely sealed. This guy is not sealed, but the fact that he is a Furby baby, I can see
He has
there.
his tags.
Huh?
I think he has his tags too.
Yeah, they all have. This is the only. We got 2 Furby babies and 2 regular Furbies. They still have their tags. We haven't tested them yet to see if they do work, but they were very clean and obviously barely played with, and they still had their boxes. And the interesting thing, even the paperwork is in the bottom of there. These cost us $5
whole dollars.
$5 whole dollars. And if you happen to be a Furby person, or you're thinking about getting a Furby and you're trying to figure out if it's worth finding, here's a little trick I'm going to show you right now. There is a website that I want you to look at, and it is it's the official Furby Wiki. Now, this official Furby Wiki has a list of all of the Furbies that have ever been made, including showing you all their colors. So if you see something somewhere and you're like, I don't know what kind of Furby this is. So that happened to be a baby blue Furby with the pink ears. But the interesting thing is you can use this site if you're looking for something to, one, find out a little bit more about the different kinds of Furbies. So it's the list of all of them. You can see there are regular Furby adult line, the different generations. And as you go into eBay, if you happen to go into there, or Terapeak or WorthPoint, and you look up Furbies, you can see how some of these ones, like Bumblebee, is a really expensive Furby. So just like any other thing, variations or harder to find ones, you can start finding. So you can actually look up, I don't know why I keep getting all this, stop seeing this ad covered content. But you can look up stuff and find out there's special editions of them and how much they're actually worth. So then there's fresh new look Furbies. There are Furby babies. Then you get into all the other kind. There's these other weird things, the Shelby line that came out, which are very hard to find as well. Furby Friends, Emotronic. So as you start learning more, you can go to here and see how these different things work and check and see if something you see at a thrift store is actually worth picking up, because we see some of these all the time, and they're usually priced in the under $5 mark. They're worth potentially putting in the $5, even if you don't know if it works, in order to figure it out. So look it up. You can Google image. You can go Furby identification on Google. It will take you to this, and you'll be able to actually see that. I want to smooch. I'm not sure what is going on in here. I love animals.
We're talking about not liking babies or kids.
Oh, that's what
and comparing it to how much they like animals.
So I'm going to keep on talking. So here's our baby, our blue one. Looks like he could be a $50 or so one in a box. So we're just going to test him. But we got 4 of these guys when we were out at the Brimfield Flea. So some of the other stuff that we ended up picking up. This was actually just prior to the Flea, so I'm going to show you that after. So the other stuff that I've got stuff behind me, and Rick has stuff with him. So Rick, I don't know which way you want to go. You want to pull something up that you've got?
I can show a couple of things. Tiki mugs.
So Rick found some tiki mugs for $1.
This one was a whole dollar. So there are good prices at some places. This one was $5.
I will post a link to that site in the craft group.
And this is OMC, Otagiri Marketing Corporation. It's got the concave base, so less liquor gets put in the glass. I think this is an Easter Island Maori, and it should list for probably $50-$60. The other one could be 40 or $50. So not bad for $6 total investment.
Sometimes you find vendors who haven't got a clue what they actually have. And we did do this. We went by somebody and they were selling all sorts of glassware and things like that. But what did they have sitting on top of their car? This. Does anybody know who this is? As Rick yells out the name. Does anybody know who this is? In the comments. Let me see if anybody knows who this is. This is, nobody knows. Well, I don't know if this will give you a hand in helping figure out who it was. It's Teddy Ruxpin's friend. Yeah, yes, it is Teddy Ruxpin's friend. And Teddy Ruxpin's friend is actually named Grubby. Grubby is, just like Teddy Ruxpin, works with the tape in the back and the talking and everything like that. So
but Grubby doesn't have his own tape.
Grubby doesn't have a tape. Like, Grubby only works with a cord linked from Grubby to Teddy Ruxpin. So he's talks only through Teddy Ruxpin. He doesn't do much on his own. Now, here's the interesting thing. This is what I say when you go to see a vendor. First thing we looked at when I saw this, I said, how much is the thing on the top? I knew what it was, but I said, how much is that thing on the top? And the guy said, oh, that Caterpillar, $40. I went, oh, and I picked it up, and you know what? It's kind of dirty. So you can see it's got dirt on it. So I was like, oh, and then he said, I think it goes with that other one. And down on the ground in a box was this, Teddy. And Teddy was like spotted on the back, and I went, oh, do you know if they work? No. Do you know if you have anything that connects them? And he goes, no. I said, okay. And I put them back down. He goes, how about 10 for the two of them? I don't have a clue about what they are. Well, yeah, for $10, I'm going to risk it. Now, this is part of the reason that we're risking it. Out of the blue, we bought a Teddy and a Grubby at a church bazaar 4 years ago for $1 each. The problem was you had to join the two of them together. Well, we had to go and buy the cord on eBay that joins the two of them together. The cord sells for $50 or more. We lost the cord. We sold Grubby and Teddy in our max sold auction with no cord. Guess what we found a month and a half ago? The cord. So...
Hey, Craig, where's the cord now?
I don't know where the cord is. Well, we know we have a cord somewhere. So we're going to hope.
I'll remember it's over here.
It's I don't know where it is. But again, $10 price tag. If we can clean them up, we got to test them and see whether they're any good. But something interesting from somebody who doesn't know what they've got. So people bring stuff all the time. They may be vendors that deal with only China or only toys or whatever, and they just don't know everything that they have in there. We had somebody else in the same world, and they had a lot of cheap glass. And then at the back of where the cheap glass was, they had this.
Yay!
Now, if you recognize the silent screaming of these silent screaming things are known as buyer's choice. And they can be worth a good deal of money if you can find buyers. And so they always have to have that on the bottom. They always have to have the buyer's thing on the bottom. And they had these, and I think, Rick, what was it that they were selling them at? Was it 8 each?
They wanted 8 each, but I talked them down to $15 for all 3.
All right, there we go. There's the third one. Oh, that's right. And they all have the silent screen. So I don't know how much they're worth, but generally, if you can find them for under $8 to $10, like $5 to $8, you should be able to easily make your money on them. And some are much harder to find than others and could be worth a lot more money than others.
I actually found a pair that look similar to the ones that you have.
Oh,
and they filmed their,
2007, Santa and Mrs. Claus.
I think that's them.
Okay. No, that's not this Mrs. Claus.
No.
No, this Mrs. Claus has a muff.
Okay. If you say so.
Sorry, yes.
I will have to do some more research. I can't
We'll do
find
some more
it.
research on it. But again, it's probably going to be able to flip that. There shouldn't be an issue with flipping that. And they are in actually amazing shape, like really, really nice shape. Don't go there. You may have heard us. Do you have something else you want to show, Rick?
I've got a couple of things. Again, we were at this one guy's booth, and he was pricing things really reasonably. I think that it was a case of not wanting to bring stuff back home. His mother was in the booth with him as well, and she was his comedic sidekick. Anyways, this was on his table in the front. And we hadn't bought much at that point, and Craig was pushing me to buy things.
Well, no,
why aren't you buying anything yet? Why aren't you buying anything?
He didn't buy anything, and I kept seeing stuff that I thought, this is a Rick. This is the type of thing that is probably around our house still,
Yeah,
like stuff that Rick would find at a state
me a bit of the Brady Bunch horse that got damaged. Much smaller, but it is kind of cool. It's got sort of a green with an undercurrent of blue. It's really highly detailed. There are no chips or cracks. It actually looks like it is a unicorn because it has a little horn.
Heather said Batosi.
Oh, if it's Batosi, it could be worth something.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's Chinese or not. Their feet have don't play ball in the house. The feet have like glue felt on them or something.
Yeah. Actually, it says Nippon wear on the bottom.
Oh.
So I will do some research and try to figure out exactly what he is. But he was originally priced $40. His mother made him sell it to me for $20. So there you go. I was talking to his mom for a fair bit while Craig and the son were chatting about other things in the booth. So I guess she felt nice that I was listening to all of the stories about her and her husband and health problems and all of that stuff.
Now, you also know that in the past we've talked to you. I think we may have talked more to the Kennel Club members about this. And again, a big shout out and thank you to everybody who does support us in the Kennel Club. It's easy to do. You just go to Two Dogs Digs on YouTube and you can join for $2.99 a month. And a reminder that coming up in about 2.5 weeks on the Sunday, we're going to be doing our basics on buying dolls and dealing in dolls for flipping. But that will only be available to members. So make sure you think about that. Take a look at information that we post in our craft group about that. And again, we'll be reminding you about that a few more times. But one of the things that we've told people in our Kennel Club from last year or so was to look for an item called Kurok. I don't know if anybody knows it, but if remember us talking about it, Kurok is this hard, kind of like a melamine. They're black plates, usually with a lot of decorative things on them. So a lot of times it kind of looks like shell work that's been put into them. And in fact, it doesn't actually say it on that, but they usually have a big like gold seal on the back of them as well. So we went into this one booth that had a whole bunch of Kurok trays. And it was, again, this was in Heart of the Mart. This was the second booth in. So everybody ran past the first three booths. Like they go, and they're all running towards the back of the thing. Well, we decided to walk in and go to the first booth because they were empty. Nobody looked in them. And so we looked in this one booth, and at the back of it, they had about 10 of these Kurok trays. But then one stood out to me, and I asked them, how much are your Kurok trays? And they said between $15 and $20. And I said, okay, that's actually could be a good price for them. Until I saw this one. A Levi Strauss & Company Kurok tray. So this was made specifically for Levi Strauss. And in fact, it says right on the back of it, if I can get you, I don't know if I can get that to be seen or not. I'll read it to you. It says, it is with gratitude we present you this limited edition serving tray to mark the achievement of $2 billion in sales. So a real Kurok tray with the Levi's thing here and the Levi's logo on here. So I think that this is going to be at least $100 item for us to actually, yeah, that's my fingerprints. They're happening all over. My oily fingerprints. So we will clean it up prior to. But again, seeing this, and you can see how it's designed in there, the inlay that's in there. So we grabbed this because it cost, I think it cost us 20. If you were a Levi's collector, that's just the thing. I think this is a perfect thing if you happen to be a Levi's collector, especially given that it was to like $2 billion in sales, so that we can actually probably date it really well using that as well. Sometimes we find other things that we pick up and we don't know more, like much about. I'd say more than 100. Yeah, I just grabbed it, bought it, and then went, I'll figure out what to do with it later after I show you guys what it is. It might go to Japan. That's actually very true. Strangely that you say that, because this is something that we actually ended up buying right after you say it go to Japan. This is a lot of, and we picked up more than one of these. These are some 1980s. Basically the equivalent of 16 magazine or Celebrity magazine, screen guide. Now, I tell you, I picked them up for a couple of reasons. One, I love Farrah. Strangely enough, I found this Farrah. I found a Logan's Run Farrah Fawcett pin as Holly from Logan's Run, and another Farrah Fawcett thing when I down there. I love Farrah. Wanted her hair. But it's great. It's got all these color pictures from 1980. Look at this, Clint Eastwood. This is 43 years old. I lost your mic, Rick.
Oh, no, I had muted myself because I was making
noise. Cheryl Ladd. Look at that picture, Cheryl Ladd. So, again, this is just really interesting. There's Farrah. There's William Kent.
I think that's the only picture of Farrah in there, isn't it?
It is the only picture of Farrah, which is really strange to have her on the cover, but it's just, I love this book just as an interesting book to find, but also because the Farrah on the cover, Farrah collectors will go nuts over this. We paid $10 a piece for these. This is actually something else we picked up at the same booth. He had 2 of these. He had 3, but one was a terrible cover. And I picked this up as well. And do I really care so much about the fact that it's got Cheryl Ladd on it? No, I don't. What I cared about was this. As soon as you, oh, look at that. This has some amazing Star Wars photos in it. So from my standpoint, the idea alone that I've got this
Japanese Star Wars
collectors will go mad. This is Empire Strikes Back. And it's like pages of the Empire Strikes Back. So I asked him, how many of these do you have? And he said, 3. But one of them was so damaged on the cover, I thought, no. And there are other pictures in here as well. And I've got to decide what I'm going to do with them because, there's Dominique Sanda's bum. There's a Farrah Fawcett. There's Paul Michael Glaser. So besides those, there are a number of other photos in here. I don't know what I will do. I might very well cut this apart and sell them in pieces, or I don't know how many people are interested in Tatum O'Neal. I won't do that with that one. We also have one with Brooke Shields on the cover too. So
I made him just that one.
Something interesting. Again, a guy, he had like 10 of these, but that's all he had at his whole table that we like, and nothing else that we would actually think would be of any interest whatsoever. Anything else you got there, Rick?
A couple things. I don't know if you remember when we picked these up.
Oh, God. They were pricey.
They were kind of pricey. He wouldn't budge on his price. But I had to have them. This is one of the things that Craig said, well, why don't you buy them anyways? They were priced for $25 for the set. I asked if I could have them for $20. He said, no. They are so sweet.
Yeah, salt and pepper. They will probably stay here.
And they have their original rubber stoppers.
And a sticker, too. Don't they have a sticker on them?
One of them has... Actually, they both have stickers.
Is it an Arco or what does it say?
Oh, you're asking me to look in the dark here.
Okay. We also found, and I've only got a couple of these up right now. We also found a lot. If you were interested, it was way too expensive on some of this stuff, though. Tons of vintage Christmas and so much vintage Halloween. So much vintage Halloween. But a lot of the vintage Halloween, unfortunately, there were no big deals. We hope to find some. We did find this one dealer, and so we picked up a number of these paper cutouts. They're usually, in most cases, they're by Bestle, Bestle. And they were in pretty nice shape. These ones are actually Hallmark. And again, we made sure that we got them in, that were in nice shape. The challenge is when you find these, 99% of the time, you're going to find tape and crease marks on them. You just want to make sure you don't have tears on them. So this, obviously, there's tape on the tail of this. We're not going to try and remove that tape. We ended up picking up about 25 of these, including some larger ones that were witches and things like that, all from somebody for 50 cents a card, which was really good. And I think it was at that same booth we grabbed all of these for $5.
Little trick-or-treat bags.
So vintage trick-or-treat bags. And again, these were $5. So we can flip these relatively easily for at least $1 a piece. These should easily go for $5 to $10 each. So for 50 cents, and again, we had 25 of those that we ended up picking up, including
Didn't we have the popcorn one too? The popcorn.
And yeah, there is we got a popcorn one too, but I left that downstairs. Did you had something else, Rick?
Yes. I'm going to do my weightlifting now. Another thing that Craig insisted I buy because I hadn't bought anything for the day.
Hey, hello.
This is a pair of brass duck bookends, and they weigh probably 10 pounds each.
They are so freaking heavy.
They're very heavy, but they are in really nice condition. They don't have any verdigris. They don't have any nicks or scratches. And I will probably use them for a little bit before we resell them. What else do you have, Craigie?
Well, we did end up picking up.
Sorry.
Oh,
We have one other thing that you mentioned on our show that we didn't bring up to the room. This is Pickles from the 75th anniversary of Harry Potter. No, who is it? Peter Rabbit.
Now, we did say we would go back to that person and see about grabbing their stuff because they said they were going to go down to $1. Guess what? They didn't go down to
$1.
Liars. They were well, first of all, a little sad story. But yeah, we went to the wrong booth for a long time, and I made Rick walk 45 minutes before we found it. And then when I got there, he still had a bunch of his stuff, but no, he hadn't reduced any of the prices and said he wasn't going to. And another girl was grabbing tons of it at $10, $15 a piece. There's no way we were going to get any of it. So that was interesting. But one other thing we did find, two other things, and then we're going to let you go, that I wanted to just show you about. A little bit of an attitude. He was like, "What are you back here for?" I said, "You told me to come back afternoon and everything would be $1." He goes, "Nope, changed my mind." One thing that I showed you guys and asked you, would you buy this? It was when we went to, this was a church that was just before we actually got there. They had a church bazaar that they have in Brimfield. So it's in a town east of Brimfield. They had this table and it was filled with all these Disney beanies. And I asked you guys on our Facebook group, would you have bought these Disney beanies? Now, they originally were priced at $2 or $3, 2 for $5 or something like that. And I actually ended up saying, you know what? I'm making a deal on these. And I did pick them all up. They are all here. There we go. You can flip out of that picture, Rick. They are all in this bin. So there's 45 of them.
All right.
You click to me. There's 45 in here. And part of the reason that I picked them up was because it wasn't just your standard ones. It was a lot of more interesting beanies. So it was a lot of sidekicks that were in here. Gus and Jacques from Cinderella. This is Cricket, and I don't even know who Cricket belongs. Oh, from Mulan. But it was filled with a lot of these other sort of sidekicks. Yes, there was the occasional here. There's Mickey, but there were so many more that were figures that I was not used to seeing in many places. Even things like this is what is a Scar? No, this is Bagheera. And even that is like from the villain side of things. I think this is mini Captain Hook with Peter Pan coming out. So I still think that these were worth the money to pick up. Again, part of the reason I did it was because not only were they just sitting there and somebody had plastic bagged them all, but every one of them still had their Disney tags on them. So they were all still in really nice, clean shape. So we will probably actually sell these on Whatnot. We'll probably end up doing like a Disney beanie show specifically on that. I will start every one of them in the $10 or more range, but I will do a quick bit of research to see if there's any single villains or single sidekicks. We paid $25 for 44 of them, 45 of them, I think. Yeah. So it's less than $1 a piece for them, right? 25, yeah, 40. Yeah, less than $1 a piece. The other thing that I showed you and asked you about, and we had some people go, why would you do it? Did you really decide to buy that? Was we went by one of the last things, and it was the second last day that we were there. And I saw this vendor who Rick and I were sitting there chatting, and it was a vendor that was filled with tattoo art. And this is, hold on, I just got to get, where's the thing? I'm trying to get it to show up here. Can I open it in a new tab? So this is a bunch of tattoo art that we found at one dealer. Here we go. So bins and bins and bins of tattoo art. Now, a few people went, what would you do with something like that? Well, again, we take risks all the time on different things. So we decided, looking at this, they wanted originally, what was it, Rick? $2 each, 3 for $5.
Yeah.
And so we looked at that and said, you know what? We've bought stuff in bulk before to try and risk it. And so that's exactly what we ended up doing. Out of all those bins, we picked for us 100 pieces. And this is just to show you. So this is from a tattoo art place that shut down. So this is a risk. And I always say, sometimes you want to take a risk and see what you can do with it. This is one of those times we're taking that risk. This is all sorts of different tattoo art from a place called Lion's Den Tattoo Studio. And these were all on the walls so people could choose their artwork. They've all been laminated. And we tried to pick things that were really amazing. So if somebody is a Black Panther fan, these things would be looking good on their walls. Like you could frame this and get it and put it onto your wall itself. So this is, even this one I thought was fun because it had everything from Evil Dawn's Flash, from Sexy Bitch, Getting Paid, Black Cherry, City Boy, Queen. So again, you could cut this up into little pieces and frame them, anything along those lines. Again, just wild. So we picked up somebody who collects butterflies. So we picked up 100 of these, and we actually got them to do a $100 for 100 of them. And you can see from that picture, there were probably about 5,000 of them in that video, because there were a heck of a lot. There were a heck of a lot of in that video that
if we had
touch.
If we had more time and we had done a bit more research, we might have actually considered buying more of them.
Holy crap.
Well, that's for really old.
That's for real original art.
Yep.
But
sorry. I'm on the wrong screen here.
And no, actually, I do not have a tattoo. Neither does Rick. I actually personally am not a fan of tattoos. My dad had tattoos that faded and they looked absolutely horrible.
Okay, this is probably more similar to what we were seeing. The 11 by 14 laminate sheets, 370 sheets for $6.75.
That's only $2 a piece. So
yep.
We are going to try them. Probably in the neighborhood of start them at like anywhere between $8 to $10 a piece. We're actually going to try them this Friday. We're going to do a whatnot show, and we're going to focus on tattoo and flash art and see if there's anybody who's got interested in any of those things in there. And we'll see what we do. If we can sell 10 of them, we made our money back, and then we can figure out what actually they do. They do have the artist name depending upon which ones they are. This happens to be somebody called Good Fortune. This is official tattoo brand. This is Evil Dawn Flash. So that can help us as well. Somebody who had made a comment about whether we could sell them or not because we aren't owners of the copyright. We pay no attention to that whatsoever because as far as we're concerned, when we buy art or we buy something at a secondary sale, it's previously been sold to someone. They've had it. They have gotten rid of it. They have licensed it to go to a tattoo parlor that closed. That parlor closed and sold its stuff. We can then buy it and resell it. We've done that with artwork. We've done that. We found pieces of artwork. We found all sorts of stuff like that. We got some Bahamas art that we bought at a Value Village, and it was on the baggy wall. And we bought probably about 200 of these prints. 6 different prints. 200 of each of these 6 different prints. And we had the artist actually, a friend of the artist, call us and email us and say, you can't sell these. I said, yes, I can sell them. They were licensed to somebody. They sold them. We bought them. We'll resell them. I'm not going to be worried about somebody like Evil Dawn saying you can't sell my art piece. I'm going to say it's not your art piece. It belonged to a tattoo studio who went under and sold it to me. So if I bought it, it's mine to resell. So
yeah, I'm not selling it as a tattoo.
No.
I'm not making any money off of it that way.
No. So I don't worry about that kind of thing. It was something somebody made a comment about in our group, but I was like, no, that's not something for me as a reseller to worry about, especially right now. And again, they had 6,000 of these. If they come back and we sell a few in September, October, this is what happened to us when we bought our T-shirt transfers from Brimfield. We bought a bin of T-shirt transfers from somebody for about $200, I think, or something like that. I can't even remember what we paid. And we sold so many of them so fast that the next trip back to Brimfield in September, we said, did you bring any more T-shirt transfers? He said, no. I said, I want whatever you got left. So he brought them back the following May. And the following May, we went and grabbed 2 tubs full. He charged us a little more for them because he knew we wanted them. But we ended up with hundreds and hundreds of vintage 1960s, 70s iron-on tattoos or iron-on T-shirt transfers. So, yeah, we always look for stuff like that. So hopefully you saw a few things that you thought, well, what would they do with this? Well, we could sell this. I don't know how somebody could use it. They might use it on their wall. They might frame it. They might cut it to pieces. All sorts of different stuff like that. So
are we going to end on a story or not?
Huh?
We're going to end on a story or not?
Oh, you want to end on the story? We can end on the story. So we got you here, and I guess it's time for us to end on a lovely little story. So I'm going to start Rick off with our story of the entire trip. And this happened before Brimfield, actually. Yeah. This happened at an antique mall. And I'll let Rick start the story, and then I'll take it over from there.
Yeah, before Brimfield, we actually drove down to Buffalo. And then from there, we drove down to the Salamanca Antique Mall, which is about an hour and a half south of Buffalo. And we were there, a few months ago?
Yep.
So this time around, I'm sort of buzzing and zooming through. And all of a sudden, I see on a shelf a set of really tall choir people, and they are really badly done. The one that killed me was this one.
So take a close look at the face on that one with the haunted eyes. Now take another sort of close look at the neck on this one. It's broken and has been re-glued. Well, the price of these lovely set 3, you all know Rick needs another set of choir things coming to us. The price of them was $9.95 for all 3, which is the reason I said, you know what, you can get them. We go up to the cash desk and we put them on the table, and the lady said, oh, Cindy Brady. Get it. Well, the lady said, oh, you're looking at those. And I said, yeah, I can't believe these. They're so freaking ugly and hilarious. And she went, they were mine. And But we love ugly and hilarious. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like how I'm supposed to explain that. She goes, well, did you notice anything about them? And I said, yeah, this one's had its head cut off and glued back together. At which point she said, I know. It was my doll and I got it. A day after I got it, the head broke off. The day after that, I was nearly decapitated right before Christmas from something that my uncle was handling by the farm. See my scar? Yes, this is her version of her.
But you
my decapitated choir girl. Oh my God, it was like, and
you asked her for a picture. You said, "Can I get a
the first thing I said, can I get a picture of the two of you together? I want to see your scar."
No.
And she just looked at me very straight and went, no. And I was like, oh. And I just turned away. I was like almost crying, laughing, because I didn't expect that my joke about the decapitated choir person would actually have brought out a story that she just brought them there that day, actually, that morning. And we bought her childhood memory of her almost being personally decapitated. And she only wanted $10 for them, too. Oh, yes, the foot tasted so badly.
That just made me want them more.
Yeah, it made me want them more. So I was like, yes, this was. At that point, I couldn't back away because I had to buy them, and they were with the other stuff that we had. So now we've got more things that we're obviously never going to be able to get rid of. Because Rick will be like, I have my haunted choir boys, and I'm just waiting for the decapitated choir girl to join us up here in the main office so that she can stare at me and constantly remind me of the evil that we met when we did that anyway. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to us, and hopefully you learned a little bit about Brimfield. A little bit about us you didn't need to know. And a little bit about things you may not have thought about purchasing before. And maybe consider, again, trying Brimfield. Think about it. If you happen to be in the eastern seaboard, people drive there from Ohio, from South Carolina, from Florida, from Montreal, from Toronto. It's people drive 8 to 10 to 12 hours to get there. Take an extra day to get there. People go different times of the day. We were there for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We leave Thursday afternoons. Becky went on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and she was leaving on the Friday, so she was going to be able to shop on Friday. Some people go on the Thursday and start at Mays as the main thing and go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. As you go further along, you could get potentially more deals. People are trying to clear out stuff. We've seen people trying to clear out stuff on the Thursday because they want to go, and they said, take anything from my booth $1. I don't want to take any of it back with me to upstate New York. So a friend of Lisa's went for a 27-hour drive. I actually know somebody, I think from Calgary, who actually drove there once too, and North Carolina. So thanks for that. I have no idea what our show is going to be about next week because we haven't really thought about it. We still are starting to unpack, and we got a lot of shows and listings and stuff like that we have to get done. So next week might be a show where we just list more stuff, and talk to you about some more stuff that we found. Again, think about our doll show that's coming up. If you are not a member of the Kennel Club, think about joining us, subscribing here on YouTube, $2.99 a month. You get that, and you'll get our research deck, and we'll make sure we put that updated up one with a link so that everybody can get it, and we'll talk about that more in craft. Thank you again for being with us, joining us here, and having a little fun with us on a Tuesday night. Watch us on Whatnot, and talk to us more if you haven't been on there, because it is a place where you can make some money, especially given our eBay sales are going. We're going to be at it. We're moving to more and more to Etsy starting this week. So. And a lot of changes coming up on eBay, so maybe we'll talk about them next Tuesday as well. Thanks for being here. I'm Bad Dog.
I'm Good Dog.
I'm Mr. Ticklefinger.
I'm a scary choir girl. Decapitated.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.